on the last episode of Esther's Purpose. Esther became queen. Her secret about being a Jew had led to some trouble. Her husband, King Xerxes, was tricked by the evil Haman to write a law declaring all Jews be killed. The king didn't know this meant Esther too. Haman did all this because Mordecai, Esther's adopted father, wouldn't bow down to him. How will Esther and Mordecai save themselves and their people? Let's find out. Mordecai sent a message to Esther telling her she was the Jews' only hope. What if God had made her queen for this very moment? Mordecai urged her to go and speak to her king, but this wasn't a simple request. No one could speak to the king without being invited. If you spoke to the king without permission, you would be put in jail and eventually killed. There was one exception, though. If the king held out his golden scepter when he saw you, it meant he was giving you special permission to speak with him. Esther knew she had to try. It was worth the risk. She went into the courtyard. He looked out and saw her. He remembered how kind she was and smiled at her beauty. He told his men to bring her in. Esther was scared. But in that moment, the king lowered his scepter. Esther could speak to him. "What do you want, my queen? I will give you anything you ask for, even half of all I own," he said. Queen Esther said, "I wish to have a banquet with you and your prime minister Haman." The king agreed. During the day, the evil Haman passed the palace gates again, and Mordecai refused to bow. Haman was so mad that he decided to have Mordecai killed the next day. He had his men build a wood structure to hang Mordecai on, but he needed to tell the king before the dinner so that he had permission. Also that day, King Xerxes asked to read the chronicles of his reign. This book was where everything happening in the kingdom was written. The king read of a story where Mordecai had saved the king from an evil plan to be killed. He remembered that day fondly. "What did we do to reward Mordecai for saving me?" he asked his men. They told him he was not rewarded. This made the king sad. He wanted to honor Mordecai for saving him. The next day, Haman came to ask the king permission to put Mordecai to death. But the king spoke first. "Haman, what should I do to honor a great man and show respect?" Haman arrogantly thought the king was talking about him. He said, "For this man, bring a royal robe you have worn, and a horse you have ridden on, my king, one with the royal crest on its head. Then let the robe and horse be entrusted to one of the king's most noble princes to put on this man and to honor him. Then lead him on the horse through the city streets, proclaiming before everyone, 'This is what's done for the man the king wants to honor.'" The king said, "Wonderful. Go and do this for Mordecai the Jew." Haman was shocked and angry, but he had to do what the king said. Haman led Mordecai through the streets on the king's horse that day. Haman was furious. At dinner that night, King Xerxes asked Esther again, "What is it you want, my queen?" She said, "I would like to have another dinner tomorrow night with you and Haman." The king agreed, and Haman was so happy to get invited to the queen's dinner again. He liked to feel important. At the second dinner, Esther told the king that she was a Jew and would be killed with all the Jews because of his law. She told him that Haman hated Mordecai and had tricked the king into this law because of him. The king was enraged. One of the servants told him that Haman had built a structure to have Mordecai killed on the very next day. The king was so angry that he ordered that Haman be killed on that structure, and he got rid of the law that said the Jews would be killed. Esther saved herself and the Jewish people. Esther found great purpose in that day, but the truth is, God used every day of Esther's life for his purpose. God wants to use you every day too.